topic, and that's going to be the man. This is a sad one too. Showtime ending sports division at end of 2023. Where does boxing go from here? Well, boxing has been in a fragile state for the last 10 years, okay? And then 5 years ago, you had HBO leave the game. Now you have Showtime leaving the game. Both these cable networks literally were built because they showed boxing. You know what I mean? People subscribe to these networks because they want to watch the big boxing match. Then next thing you know, they got a top rated movie that was out 33 months ago that's showing up right after that boxing match. It was like a match made in heaven. It was perfect. It was every Saturday night for years on years on years. And then after a while, the movies, they stopped showing those. You know what I mean? And now it just becomes about trying to present a boxing match and then possibly one of your hit TV shows right after this boxing match. But I just feel like at some point in time, boxing just wasn't good for the mix anymore. I feel like that. And I feel like with the way that it was sold, that old model isn't selling for them anymore. You know what I mean? Boxing is not getting people to acquire these networks anymore. They used to be a part of your cable package. You pay an extra $5 and you got them. Or you say, you know what, you get a basic cable, they'll give you a free weekend, then they'll throw a fight in there. And then, hey, man, I really need this. Oh, man, I get to watch the fight. So it was great at presenting their network, but they're way past that point now. You can present the network via stream, via ads and things like that, through IG, through Twitter, through all that stuff. So there's just a lot of things that play into the point to where these networks don't need boxing anymore because it's not making them any money anymore. And it's not bringing them in. Not making them money doesn't mean that you didn't get enough views that night. It means that you don't have enough people signing up for it. That's it. That's all. But at the same time, too, the pandemic killed a lot of things. But there were some groups that continued so they could keep the people sane. They did us all a favor by keep on going. So people had to take extra loans and PPPs and things like that to keep things afloat, because when they shut down the country, they shut down every business and every entertainment facet there was. So there was a really tough time to really be able to, figure out, the financials. But everybody was able to get an abundance of financials to keep things going so people could be satisfied, so people wouldn't be out in the streets going crazy. So that's one thing I can say that Showtime Boxing did for us that was incredible. They made sure they kept going. Even though they could have shut this thing down, they should have shut this thing down, they still went ahead about it because they knew that they could squeeze some dollars out of this thing. And it was good enough to the point to where it was able to keep boxing going for another 2 years. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I knew back in 2019 that Showtime wanted to get out of the boxing game. But Steven Espinosa was such a great worker and such a great supporter of the sport that he fought tooth and nail constantly to keep Showtime, to keep the lights on. And that's why I always say people need to leave Steven alone about what he did for this network and what he did for boxing fans. He did all he could at the end of the day. And pretty much big business gets to talking. And boxing's not a part of big business anymore. And boxing fans have to understand that part. It's too violent to show on network TV now. It truly is. You used to be able to watch a boxing match at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now you would have to wait till 8, 9 o'clock for that boxing match to come on. And damn, you're already busy with the football game, or you're already busy with the basketball game. Why would you care about watching these two guys fighting a 6-rounder? And, I just feel that the more violent fights got to where guys weren't getting broken up, to where they lost the innocence of national television, where they used to end those fights. But then after a while, guys, they're just letting guys get absolutely cooked. And then the mismatches, that's not going to work. You know what I mean? And that's something that's just really killed everything at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And I truly feel that A lot of us just have to understand that it's the sign of the times. And there's a lot of money that's being put into all these sports programming. And boxing doesn't have to have too much money for their sports programming. But at the same time, too, if you keep feeding this sickly person, this person who's not producing anything and is dying by the day, then you're gonna lose your other properties. And the NF and the in Showtime, Paramount cannot. Showtime, I mean Paramount. Showtime is just a network, a part of the Paramount family, but Paramount cannot afford to lose the NFL at all. Okay, that's out the question. And if you keep supporting boxing, if you keep putting boxing out, if you keep putting out a budget for them and Bellator and all these other people, then you're gonna mess your money up to where when it comes back to the bidding for the NFL, you won't be right. And you got shows that are doing well right now as well too, that you have to shutter if you got to keep doing boxing. That's what people don't understand at the end of the day. If you're not making these companies money, then they got to go. It wasn't about how Steven Espinosa put the fights together. It wasn't how PBC put the fights together. Boxing itself is a dying sport. It's dying everywhere it's been at. Okay, everybody's trying to pull out of the game because what happens is the managers, the promoters, all these people take the money off the top, and then they give whatever's left over to the actual work. You know what I mean? So that's what happens here, and pretty much, at the end of the day, the networks don't get themselves involved in that, but it just kept producing mediocre product, and you just can't do that. You can't put out a guy that you think is going to be Rocky Balboa, but he winds up being like one of the extras Rocky knocked out during the build-ups to Mr. T fight. You just can't do that. And the public perception waned off. If you compare boxing 30 years ago till now, it was an event. It was a spectacle. It was something everybody looked forward to. It actually would trump everything else on a Saturday night. Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad was the biggest sporting event of the month, of the year when they had that fight. Same thing goes for Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield in their second fight. These were the biggest events in sports. You don't have that anymore in boxing. You just don't. And they were very close to duplicating that. That's why it was the final year. It really looked like the final year or something, because you have Tank Davis, who had a star-studded fight. Then you had Crawford and Spence. They had a star-studded fight. Then you had Charlo and Canelo. They had pretty much what you would see as a Hall of Fame fight, a fight that you knew everybody was going to show up for, because it's been on and popping ever since. It's undisputed versus undisputed. And all of them, to me, they lived up to what they had to do at the gate, but they didn't live up to what they had to do when you go out and buy the actual programming, dude, in my opinion. So at the end of the day, Showtime was an absolute pioneer in the sport. They were a very great entity for the time that they were here. And I truly do feel that without Showtime, we'd have missed out on a whole lot of great boxers, and we would have missed out on a whole lot of bad boxers as well too. So Showtime, all in all, I tip my hat to you. Shout out to all my friends that work over at Showtime Championship Boxing as well too, that will not be employed by this situation, but you know what? At the end of the day, they are a part of the Paramount family. So I know they'll find a place for these people. And at the same time, too, they do have the experience. And you got the Zones of the world. You got the ESPNs of the world. And they'll definitely call these people up to help them out as well, too. But at the end of the day, PBC has about 3 deals that they're negotiating right now. So most of these people that were working for Showtime, they're just going to be absorbed by PBC and taken on to the next network. That's how it pretty much works, because the same people who were working the Showtime fights were working the Fox fights when they were dealing with Fox. I was around for all this stuff. So, it is what it is. So pretty much at the end of the day, it's going to be business as usual. You just lose Showtime, the network, but you're going to gain probably 3 more networks by the end of the year that are going to show the best boxing matches in the world. And that's because PBC puts them on. So it is what it is at the end of the day. This is just business as usual, but it's sad because old friend has to go. And it is what it is. That's how it works. That's life. Things come and go. You enjoy them while they're present. That's all we can do in this life. That's it, and that's all. So let's move forward. Let's go ahead and talk some boxing. That's